Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee and I use this channel to talk all about what intentional living looks like for me. Today we are going to do another quarterly seasonal update and talk through some of the things that happened over the past quarter. I've got a little bit of a different structure, which I'll go into in a moment, but if you want to reflect on the past 3 months of the year and start thinking ahead into the next 3 months and what you hope will happen, how you hope to feel, and what you hope to accomplish, please keep watching. My hope is that this will allow you to find some ways to add some intentionality into the way that you plan your year and into the way that you reflect on your year. I am not a big journaler. I have tried. The only time that I have consistently journaled was when I was traveling a lot and I wanted to remember things that I did while traveling. Other than that, I have never been able to keep to a journal. I am a much better verbal processor, and so this has been a fantastic way. I've only done it one other time so far, but it was a really great way to reflect on the last 3 months and to kind of process verbally what I hope the next 3 will bring. So we're going to go into kind of the 7 dimensions of wellness, but I think I have 8 kind of, and then also looking ahead into the next quarter. So first we're going to jump into emotional. How have I felt? How have I taken care of myself? Physical, intellectual, what have I been learning? Social, what does my community look like and connection? Occupational, speaks for itself. Environmental, I want to do it based on my physical environment, like my home and office, as well as how I'm feeling connected to the nature around me and the world around me, which could be its own video, honestly, but we're just going to touch on it briefly. Then we're going to go over finances. I'm really excited to do a finance update. The thing that I added is books because I want to talk a little bit about all of the books that I read over the past quarter. And then, like I said, we'll end with looking ahead to quarter 3 and seeing what we're excited about for that. So first, let's jump into emotional. The same thing that I did last time. I've got my emotion sensation wheel up. I will also put it on the screen for you. So I'm just going to pick 2 or 3 words that I feel sum up how I felt over the past 3 months. April, May, and June. I'm trying to think, I'm trying to separate them out from the first 3 months of the year, because if you watched my previous quarterly kind of seasonal update video, it was heavy. It's so interesting because the 3 words that I'm kind of leaning towards are so different from each other and they're such on opposite ends of the spectrum. And I am not going to go into an entire psychology lesson. I could, but I won't. But it's just that reminder of so many things can be true at the same time. You know, like I can be happy and also suffer with depression at the same time. The world can be in utter destruction and chaos, and my home can feel like the most peaceful place in the world at the same time. The 3 words that I'm leaning towards and I think have settled on are peaceful, confused, and distant. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those, but I'm not going to go into it too much because this is not a diary. It's just an update. Peaceful because of the traveling that we did in May and June. First, going to the Netherlands in May, I always feel at peace when I'm there. I'm with people that I love very dearly, and I'm in a place that brings me a very settled feeling. And then going to the beach in June, I am literally never more at peace than when I am sitting on the beach listening to the waves come in and recede. And that, oh gosh, it was so renewing. And at the same time feeling a bit distant because we had a lot going on and I felt distant from myself, like not fully dissociated from myself, if you understand the concept of dissociation, but distant from myself. And distant on this emotion sensation wheel is connected to anger as like the core emotion. And I definitely felt a lot of anger over the course of the 3 months for various different reasons, some connected and some not connected to each other at all. And then confusion also in a myriad of ways. I think I'm very confused with the place I live right now, the country that I live in right now, and how we got here. There's some confusion with my job. There's some confusion with family stuff. So it's kind of I think those sum it up very well, because in so many ways I experienced peace. In so many ways I felt distant from myself, and in so many ways I felt confusion. So I think those sum that up very well. Like I mentioned, travel was a lot of what excitement was kind of built around for these last 3 months, because we had not traveled since, September of last year. Yeah, we went up north for Thanksgiving, but I guess I would kind of consider that travel, because then we also went and saw one of our best friends for the day, a couple hours away. So maybe November, but real riveting travel, I guess, not since September of last year. And then there were hard things. There's still a lot going on with a specific family member in my family. My husband's grandfather passed away, and so we went to a funeral in June, and, stress remains a constant. And I do feel like I am finding better ways to deal with it, but I'm also realizing that there's a lot that I need to do more to take care of myself with. And one of the big things is connected to our next topic, which is physical, because I got a brain map done, maybe it was in May, maybe at the end of April. I got a brain map done. We do brain maps and functional neurofeedback at the counseling center that I manage, and I had not gotten a brain map done yet. So we were training a new person, and I was kind of one of the brains she trained on, and it gave me a lot of information about my brain. It gave me a lot of information about my thresholds for stress and how my body is holding stress that I was unaware of before. And so I'm really grateful for that. And it gives you a lot of ways to help improve your overall brain function, in addition to doing functional neurofeedback training on your brain. So I've been doing some of the neurofeedback training, and it wasn't necessarily helping, but it was also a very short amount of time. But then we talked to someone who's a little bit more of an expert in the field of neurofeedback, and he suggested certain supplements for me to start taking, and movement to be an increased part of my self-care. I have a love-hate relationship with movement. If I can get to a gym, and what I mean by that is like literally get myself to go there, I will stay and work out for hours if I can. I love the act of movement. I love the act of working out. It's not that. It's what my brain does to me before I can start the movement or activity that trips me up every single time. And so I am trying to find ways to bring more joyful movement that I'm excited for on the front end versus dreading on the front end, so that it's exciting before I do it, while I'm doing it, and after I completed it. Because essentially, I need more oxygen going to my brain to help implement some of the neurofeedback training that's being done to help improve overall brain activity. It's something that I knew already, and movement for me is not ever going to be about losing weight. It can't be, because it takes me to a real deep dark place really quickly. So that could be a byproduct, sure, but it can't be the intention. And so finding the motivation, what the motivating factor is for movement, i.e., I need more oxygen in my brain to think better and read better and sleep better and come up with new exciting ideas and be better for my clients, is a much better motivating factor for me than dropping a couple pounds. I definitely didn't incorporate as much movement as I needed to in those 3 months. Actually, that's not true at all because I was curious after getting that feedback if I did another brain map right now, would it look different because of all the travel that we've done recently? In Michigan for the funeral, I was walking a lot. At the beach, I was walking a lot. And in the Netherlands, I was walking a lot. So I am curious because there were so many days that activity was built into my day that if I did another brain map, would it be different? But the brain maps cost like $500, and so I'm not going to do another one for a while. But I am hoping to implement some new things. I have consistently been really happy with any meals that I make. I made my own enchilada sauce from scratch. It was literally so easy, and it was the best enchiladas I've ever had. I made them with flour tortillas, and next time I would make them with corn tortillas just because I like the texture and the flavor of them more. But I was worried that the corn tortillas wouldn't hold up with the sauce that I made, and I think they will, so next time I'll change that. I also just made some really yummy breakfast food while we were at the beach using ingredients that I typically wouldn't take the time to chop up or saute or whatever here when I'm needing to get my day started. There, it was so nice making meals at a slower pace. So food has been a really fun thing. We've had a couple of fun meals out as well and with people that we enjoy spending time with. But I am hoping to continue cooking more, even though it's wildly hot outside. It helps the budget aspect a lot. So I'm trying to buy ingredients that I know I enjoy cooking, that I know I can make really yummy things with, and go from there instead of going to eat out at a restaurant or picking up something on the way home. The other thing that I have done for both physical and emotional, honestly, has been joining Evie Jenner with the Enneagram Guide. She has seasonal resets that are journal and meditation driven. And I have attended last year, fall and winter, spring and summer this year, and there will be one in the fall as well that I'm so looking forward to. They are an hour and a half, and it is the most rejuvenating time. I think it was the spring reset. So in the first 3 months of the year, where I was feeling a lot more frantic and a lot less settled, I had sent her, I'm friends with Evie, and so I sent her a voice note before the reset happened, and then I sent her one after the reset happened. And then I realized, because I listened back to both of them, there was a change in how I was speaking. I sounded much more settled. And it's also a time that I reflect in a very different way than I reflect like this. This is quite factual almost to me, the way that I'm reflecting in this type of video. But there, it's a lot more creative and a lot more visual. And so I really enjoy having my brain connect to the way that I'm feeling and what I'm hoping for in a much more visual, creative, and intentional way. Whereas here it is very intentional, but it's also very fact-driven almost, because I don't want to overshare and I don't want this to be 10 hours long. So I keep it shorter, and therefore it just tends to be a little bit more structured. All that being said, I have been really appreciating a space to do that that's guided by someone else versus me trying to do it for myself. Because I could, it would just be a lot harder. So I'm really grateful for that. I will leave her information down in the description because if you are seeing this and it's not yet fall and you want to have a time to be quiet and reflect and journal and meditate while being guided by someone who is a gem and who is incredibly good at holding space for people, you should definitely join. That leads us into intellectual. What have I been learning? Different ways that I've been overcoming any challenges and exercising creativity. What I've been learning, I have done a couple of certification classes around shame, which has been quite interesting. I have also been reading some nonfiction, which I'll talk about more in the book section, but specifically reading about digital minimalism and kind of thinking up ways to be more intentional with what digital minimalism looks like for me, and also just learning about humans in different ways and reading different books from authors from different backgrounds than myself, and really listening to the people and people groups that are affected by things that are happening that don't affect me. Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about it. So I've been trying to be very intentional with learning more from various different areas of the world, not just the US and not just people who live here in the States, but people who live in all corners of the world, because it's so important to be connected to people. And you have to remember that we are all people. That has been a huge learning and intellectual kind of venture for me over the past quarter. I would also say that I am stretching my creativity muscles with a work project that I am doing right now. I have chosen a flower for each Enneagram type, and it's been very cool to learn more about the meaning culturally with flowers and how easy it was to find the different traits of Enneagram types within different flowers based on what they mean in different community and cultural settings. Some challenges are just time and money. There are so many certifications I would like to do right now. There's so much learning I would like to do right now, but everything costs money, and that's a bummer. And then everything takes time. I think the shame certification that I did was like over 36 hours of video content. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm setting aside specific time to learn. But to do the amount of learning I would like to do, it would essentially be a full-time job. So just trying to find pockets of time to dedicate to learning, and also trying to see what a budget in my business expenses would look like to allow for some additional certifications and trainings that I would really like to do. For social, I have a really great community both here and I say online, but they're all just friends that live in other areas of the country or the world that I don't get to see all of the time. But I'm feeling fairly connected to community, but I definitely feel depth of connection with all of my people. So when I say fairly connected to community, everyone feels really far away because of how busy we all are, even if we live 20 minutes away from each other, or if we live, 10-hour plane ride away from each other. That's hard, but the depth of connection that I feel with all of my people is very, very strong, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I also feel super supported by the people that I have in my circles to do all of the things that I am doing. I have some exciting things coming up in the fall with work, and so I'm hoping that my community will kind of rally and help support and launch me in that way. I'm also feeling very connected with my partner and what we are doing for the rest of the year, and some things that are coming up that he has a lot of anxiety about that I'm able to support him with. And I think that that's important when we think about social support and connection and community, is it's not just about us, but it's also how we're showing up for them. So it's also been very cool to see how I've been able to show up for people over the past 3 months and looking ahead already to some opportunities in the upcoming 3 months, but specifically being able and doing my best to support my partner in his certification exam that's coming up at the end of July, and in the loss of his grandfather and all of that, to be able to be present both physically and emotionally has meant a lot to me and hopefully a lot to him too. So speaking of occupational things, first, the coffee shop that I help out with, Rise, I haven't been working in the coffee shop at all, but I have been doing some events on Friday evenings, and I have one coming up in July that I'm really excited about. But I had a couple in April, May, and June that were also really fun. We had some dance parties and some pizza nights. We played bingo and did karaoke. It's just so fun. And I also got to involve some of my community in those events. And having them there for it was very special. One, because they get to see my sister in her element, which when she's with me, she is in her element, but she is a little bit more, tries to act a little bit more grown when she's with her community of other adults with special needs. She thrives. She is such a ham. It is so precious. And I love when people who don't know her very well or who have never met her before see her in that space. So that's been really fun for more of my people to meet her and to get to see her and everyone else really show up and show out for these events. For the counseling center, we have a lot of going on. We are doing some hiring right now. So I've held a lot of interviews over the past couple of months, and I have been trying to help update some things and get us set up for fall. Summer is always slower in kind of the mental health world, and it's also been true for my business. It's been a lot slower in the summer, so I'm doing a lot of work that's just kind of in the background and admin and does not produce any revenue for me, as it goes, but hopefully will set me up really well for getting more clients onboarded and things like that, both at the counseling center and in my personal business in the fall. The project that I'm working on for my business, I'm not going to say what it is yet, but like I said, I did pick flowers for each Enneagram type. I'm also writing a lot of text for this project, so I'm hoping that launches this fall, probably more into Q4, October, November, most likely, versus August, September. But I'm excited about that. And then YouTube. I have still been posting a video a week, and that feels so good. My husband and I have gotten into a really good rhythm of filming and editing. There are so many videos. When I first started, I would have like pages of edits for him to do when I went and watched the kind of initial scrub of the video that he did. And now, one, I have learned to edit a little bit, not a lot, but I have learned to edit a little bit. And in these like talking videos, he has gotten so good at knowing exactly what I'm trying to say and the way that I'm trying to say it. And I often have zero edits for him. I just watch the video through and then go, yep, it's ready, and I post it. I would still like to be more ahead. We have a lot of content filmed, but it's not all filmed and edited with like a thumbnail and a YouTube description already written. I would like to get kind of like a week or two ahead when possible, but hopefully after his certification exam, when he's not having to study nearly as much, then we'll have a little bit more leeway in the evenings and on the weekends to get ahead in some YouTube content. I have a ton of ideas that I need to film. I'm trying not to get too backlogged with filming content because already I just posted the video of my like beach prep and the beach vlog, and that was almost a month ago already when that happened, when I posted it. And then I filmed packing the personal item to go to Michigan for the funeral, and that's probably not going to come out until like end of July, maybe even August. So I don't want to get so far ahead that the content doesn't even feel relevant to like the calendar in my brain anymore. But I am excited about things that we already have filmed and things that we are going to film. So things are going good occupationally. I get in a slump for like 5 or 6 days, and then I come out of it, and then I go back into it, and then I come out of it. And I think that's just the way that it is when I have a lot of hats that I wear, and all of those hats fluctuate so much with income, time needed on certain projects and certain administrative things, and then clients for myself, and filming YouTube videos when I can as well. Environmental is the next category. How does my home feel? I think is the biggest question that I want to answer and reflect on. It feels good. Jonathan and I were talking about this because when he passes his certification exam, he gets an increase in pay. And he said it's always funny because he can tell that some of the other people who make that transition get like a whole new wardrobe that they start wearing to work, or they get their hair done in a totally different way, because all of that costs money, and most of his coworkers are female. And so he's like, I don't think, that I would do any of that. And I said, I would get new furniture. And he said, oh my gosh, yes, but like then people wouldn't see that we had changed anything due to the increase in money, but there would be signs. And the signs would be, I would have a different couch, and I would have a different bookshelf, and I would have a different dining room table and chairs. But those are not top priority things. But I think like the couch is a little bit uncomfortable. I find myself sitting here in this seat a lot more when I'm here during the day because it's a lot more comfortable than our other couch. And we have purchased so many books this year. And so our bookshelf is like overflowing. And so we kept talking about getting a bigger bookshelf. I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and then I was looking on Wayfair, which I don't want to buy from, but there's one that matches what our TV stand is on. So we were like, oh, do we want to get that? Then it was on sale. I had it like in my cart ready to go. And then I said, you know what? No. It overwhelms me because it would be much bigger and our books would fit and there would be a lot of empty space. So I was like, why am I creating more space when my goal is to live more minimally? And books, I have said already, are things that I do want to have. That is something, a category of items that I will always have more of than literally anything else probably. But I don't necessarily want to add so many so quickly that we're having to now buy new furniture and add expenses in bigger ways and space in bigger ways for those purchases. So I just did some reshuffling around, and even though it's very full, there's still actually some ways that we could create more space quite easily if we needed to, and we add more things. So all that to say, home feels good, but there's like this itch to change things and to add new things. And so I'm trying to get back to a place of settledness. And when we talk about finances, there's something that we'll discuss that completely helped create that feeling of settledness for me, instead of me trying to find it within myself, even though it would be possible to, redo some areas. All that being said, home does feel very good. And the office feels really good. The office that I go to, which is the counseling center. But I also work from there a couple of days a week just on my own things. And it is definitely peaceful and I get a lot done there. One of the questions that I saw some other people answering, is there any clutter or chaos? I wouldn't say that there's too much. Oh my God, this is the cutest thing in the world. So is there any clutter or chaos? Yes and no. There are some things, I'm looking at them right now. It's stuff that my husband has that either he's using to study or once he gets his office at work after he passes this exam, he wants to take those things there. So they're all just kind of like around versus in a specific place, where all of our other items have a specific place that they live. We don't have that for these items. And I have also noticed some of the areas that are hidden. I haven't gone through in a while, so I don't know if it's like a total declutter that will happen, but I definitely want to sift through some papers that we have and make sure that they're necessary, get rid of them if they're not, shred them if needed, and just kind of take inventory of the spaces that are hidden. And what I mean by that is behind a cabinet door, a closet door, or in a basket. And I have 4 baskets on top of the desk area. And those are the ones that I think definitely have some things of my husband's, but he's going to wait until after his certification exam to fully go through that. And I have one for myself, which actually honestly has a lot of books in it. And I could probably put those books somewhere else, but they're all business related. So I am feeling the need to like create some more calm. The other thing is the shelf that those baskets are on could be utilized for books rather than buying a new bookcase. And then it's determining, is there either stuff that we could get rid of, or do we have space to relocate whatever is in the baskets to put books up there? We'll see. That's a project for another day, but that is kind of something that I'm conscious of and have been conscious of over the past 3 months. I also just wanted to briefly mention kind of like environmental connection to nature, or the strides that I'm making to be more environmentally friendly. I'm just really proud of the things that we implemented over 2 years ago now that we are still keeping up with, like not using paper towels, not purchasing napkins, not purchasing bottled or canned soda, purchasing from small businesses versus large corporations, wearing natural deodorant versus, super fabricated and processed deodorant, cooking more instead of eating out at chains. So there's so many things that I'm really proud of us for doing over the past 2 years, but also over the past 3 months. I really noticed that when we were on vacation. We were there for a week, and we haven't taken a week-long vacation where we were like in a condo somewhere in a very long time. And I was so thrilled with how much we cooked, how much we prepared beforehand, so that we weren't just spending money where money didn't need to be spent. I'm really happy with that. Also, just like physical connection to nature, being at the beach, having my feet in the sand. I have never felt more grounded and peaceful than when I'm at the beach. I've said that before, and I will say it 1,000 times, because that is where I feel the most connected to myself and connected to kind of nature. It tickles so many different senses to be by the beach, and I am so grateful that we had that experience for a week, and I hope that we can go, if not this quarter, then next quarter or next year earlier, because it was so helpful. And then kind of connection to the world at large. I think what I talked about with intellectual, just the learning that I'm trying to do, also thinking about the impact of purchases that I make, thinking about the impact of where my money is going, and how I can be a more intentional consumer, traveler, all of those things. So it's on my mind all of the time, and I just wanted to kind of touch on it because I want to make sure that it's something that I never forget to do, is reflect on that. But it has been on my mind so much. I don't want to dive into it because that in and of itself could be like an hour-long video, and I'm not going to do that. 2 more sections to reflect on, and then looking ahead into quarter 3. And actually, we're going to cover all 3 of those topics in part 2 of this video because I talked for way too long. So we're going to split it up into 2 parts. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of this quarterly reset and update video. I will see you next week, where we go over finances, books, and looking ahead into quarter 3 for 2025. Until next time.